Welcome to CSL Midtown, and happy birthday to us, to you, to everyone listening, and everyone here present. We're 11 years old. Remember that? Yes, yes, yes. What a great idea! What a great experience! This was a wonderful idea when it was formed and started, and it still is. CSL Midtown is a great idea in the mind of God, and it is now established and continues. 11 years is a really important number, and we'll talk about that more later. Whoever you are, wherever you are, if you're watching online, if you're watching next week sometime, or whenever and whatever time you're doing that, I want to say thank you and welcome to you for being here. This is a place where you are recognized and known and understood for who you are. We know who you are. That might make some of you nervous, but we really know who you are. We know you are an expression of the divine. So how could we do anything but love, respect, and accept you here in this place at this time? I know that as an expression of the divine, there's only one thing happening in our lives that is the same and uniform and for all of us. And that is this idea, and we say it every week, that such is the nature of life itself, that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. You are that opportunity. So am I, and so it is. So it is. Yes. So life is just showing up with each of us in our own unique ways, in our own worlds, our own understanding of who we are, whatever our pronouns, whatever our ideas about ourselves, whatever groups we identify with, all of that is just honored and blessed and celebrated here at the Center for Spiritual Living. So whoever you are, you're welcome. We hope to see more and more of you showing up as we have today in person. But if you're not, hey, we're glad you're with us wherever you are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing with us. Happy birthday, 11th birthday. 11 is an important number. It's an interesting number. It's a master number. It isn't broken down. In the world of numerology, it carries a great deal of significance. Some of you know about the whole 1111 movement. I don't know about you, but that number started showing up in my life and just catching my attention wherever I've been and when I've been. And lately, now that it's become more of a thing for metaphysicians to pay attention to when 1111 shows up, or 11, it is even gotten my attention more. You know how that works when you're thinking about buying a particular brand of car and it just keeps showing up, you never saw it before. Well, that's kind of the same thing with the 11. And the number 11 means many different things. One of the things it means, it's most definitely clear, is that it is a number for inner strength in times of chaos. He's changing the clock, so I don't get to go long. Okay. I'll do my best, I promise. Yeah, it's a number that signifies strength in times of change and times of trial. Wow, ain't that perfect for today? This organization started and had its first Sunday on March 4th, 11 years ago. And I have heard many times about the great talk that Dr. David, or Reverend David at that time, gave. And it was all about marching forth. And it marched forth into the newness, marched forth into the great expression of life. And here we are, still marching forth. And I'm changing that starting this year because I want to spring forth. I'm done with marching. I'm tired of marching. I marched for every kind of cause you can think of in my past. I've been out there carrying signs and doing that whole thing. And that's a great thing to do when you're marching for something positive, something for peace instead of against something. But instead of marching, I'm ready for us just to spring. I'm ready to take all of that energy and possibility and power of that infinite oneness that is available within each of us and let it loose and spring forward, spring forth. And we are springing forth. This is our whole theme for this month. By the way, you may have seen up there that I'm speaking on health today. That was last month. I don't know where that came from, but it got mixed in there somewhere. So we're springing forth this month into a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of expressing what we already know. and who we are and how we are going to show up, how we continue to show up in the world. Here, online, and all of these other ways and places, you know, it's really important to recognize and to acknowledge the realities and the things that are happening to us and around us in the world. We call it conditions in this teaching. It's not the truth of us, but it's the conditions in which we live. Right now, it's very comfortable in here. That's a condition. There's food on the table, and my tummy's growling. That's a condition. Truth is, I have everything I need. Truth is, cold or hot doesn't matter unless it gets really extreme, and then I whine a lot. But the idea is that we live in a world where there are a lot of conditions right now where the number 11, or that power and strength within each of us to hold steady in the midst of trial, in the midst of trouble, really is called forth and called forward. This is our vision statement. We've been publishing this for 11 years, probably. I don't know. I wasn't around when it started, so I'm not sure exactly when it first showed up. But it says, we are a strong, open, globally connected community centered on the clarity of principle. That's been the core piece of this teaching. That is our unique expression in this community and in our world. We stand clearly on that idea. Not that other people don't. This is not about us versus them. This is about us establishing a distinction. And this is our distinction in the world. We stand on principle. What principle? Science of mind principle, truth principle, new thought principle. Not just a narrow version of it, but a stronger, wider version of principle that has proven and been proven to work. It's scientific as well as spiritual. That's another whole talk. I'll save you that. This goes on to say, through teaching, service, and practice, we create a safe and respectful environment that supports healthy and spiritual growth. We respect and support you and your healthy spiritual growth. Those of you out there in TV land cannot see. I now have I have several clocks in front of me to make sure I don't go overtime. So I'm going to go overtime just to spite them all. It's a standard thing. So that's our established word. We stand on principle. We live out of teaching, service, and practice. I love that. Thank you. Practice, practice, practice. You know, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. How do you live this teaching? Practice, practice, practice. It's never done. And we live in a world that we all need to practice in order to maintain our stability in this number 11. Because we are bombarded. I believe that the world right now, the whole world, and this country in particular, is going through a double dose of PTSD. We have been hit with two big walloping things in the last 5 years. We got hit first with the beginnings of a very angry, combative political situation between people, where it grew not only from just disagreement and discussion into physical attacks, and that continues. We also got, and that became so widespread. It had not been this way before. And then right on the heels of that, we got hit with a shutdown, lockdown, terrified, so many people, myself included at times, with the virus and all that has come from that. And we clearly do not live in the same world we lived in 5 years ago, or before that all started. The world, of course, we know the world's always changing. Change is the constant, if there is one. But these last few years have been radical and drastic. We've seen things we've never experienced before. And they're both positive and not so positive. The whole thing with the virus says the whole world united in one effort. That's a beautiful thing. But it's not so beautiful when you're terrified, sitting in your apartment, afraid to go buy a quart of milk, or whatever your situation there. So I really believe that right now, more than ever before, our message is vital to the rest of the community, and it's vital to us. It's vital to me to keep my stability, and I practice it, and I practice it, and I practice it. So this is a new beginning. We're springing forth into really going deeper in our practice. I'm doing that personally. I'm inviting you to join me in that. Our spiritual practice, see, spiritual truth is still spiritual truth. The principles of prosperity still work. The principles of peace still work. The principles of growth, of letting go of the other, of letting go of the idea that there's us and them, letting go that there's some barrier that we can't cross because people are wrong, whatever that may be. However we identify the wrong. Whatever that looks like and however that shows up, it's not true. It wasn't true 5 years ago. It wasn't true 10 years ago. It's not true now. We are all one. We are part of one universal, everywhere present power that is flowing within each of us. If you are alive, then life is flowing through you, and all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to show up. You get to choose how that's going to show up. It can show up as miserable. It can show up as victimized. It can show up as sad and lonely and afraid, or it can show up as joy and power and goodness. You can actually see other people as extensions of the oneness within you. Ain't that cool? So we don't have to have strangers around us. You know, one of the things we used to say about my granddaughter is she never meets a stranger, and it was true from the time she was this long. We'd go to a restaurant, and before we got out of there, she made sure that everybody in that restaurant had noticed her. One way or another. It was the cutest thing in the world, always with giggles and smiles and stuff, not from acting out, but it was everybody in the restaurant. And she wouldn't stop until she had gotten everyone's attention to notice her, because they were all just part of her world. We are all part of each other's worlds, and we need to stand in that truth that all spiritual principle is still true and real and right, regardless of what anyone out there is saying, regardless of what the news media is telling you, regardless of all of this back and forth in the political world, all of that stuff. What matters is that we are one. What matters is that we see each other as an expression of me. Actually, Holmes says in one place that we are each other's alter egos. Now, he means that in a real specific way. The alter ego, as in my ego and your ego, are actually part of one universal ego, because we're all part of one human. Dr. Tom Johnson used to start all of his talks saying, okay, how many people we got here? One. Because there's only one. So it don't matter if there's 10 people in the room or 1,000 people in the room. You still only got one. And with that truth comes the fact that you, as the one, are the center of your universe. Now think about that. You are, you know, that used to be a criticism. Oh, she thinks she's the center of the universe. Well, she is, okay? He is. That's the truth. And I'm going to grab it, accept it, and live it, because it's the truth. I am the center of the universe. Therefore, my thoughts, my beliefs, my ideas radiate out to all of the universe. And every part of it responds one way or another. It's like the butterfly effect from that great movie. It presents that. You know, you get the ideas and away they go. So, how then shall we live? How then shall we live? Shall we live by this divisiveness? What happens when you think of the person on the other side of the aisle from you, the person on the other side of the political spectrum? I'm not naming names, because I know which side, not everybody is on the same side of the aisle in this room, nor should they be. I just spent a week at my sister's, and it's a house divided politically. TV up, downstairs is running on CNN all day and the TV upstairs on Fox News. And these people love each other. It don't matter. Because of the deep, heartfelt stuff, the heart is there, the love is there. That's how we shall live. We shall live not by conditions, but by recognizing there's a power within each of us that is greater than all the conditions. So I guess in the sideways way, this is to talk about health, because I'm talking about the condition of health as being a condition, not the truth of you. For we are all divine beings with eternal lives that go on and on and on. So health is just a blip. Any ill health you may have happening. And there's that within you that can shift and change it. It's pretty awesome. How then shall we live? This is how we shall live. And after all my talking about not going too long, I'm going to stop short. I don't know which one of these clocks is right. There's all kinds of things here. But let me tell you this. This is where I want to go next. I want to talk about our Declaration of Principles. Because if there is a guidebook, I used to whine and complain. I wanted a book. Somebody give me some kind of guidebook to know how to live life. And it didn't. There wasn't one. Declaration of Principles is that for me. Because and I'm raising it because I want you to think about whether or not you believe any of this. Because that's what matters. It doesn't matter that we say it all together, or even when we read it all together. What matters is, do you believe it? Do you really believe in one God, one absolute power and first cause to all things? This one energy, this one power, this one something that we can't name that's showing up as all of life. The same energy and power fires up and runs the Republicans as does run the Democrats. Oh my God, really? That run the conservative Christians and the liberal atheists. Same energy, same power. It all goes and it all shows up. Do you believe that? Think about it. Answer if you want to, but think about it. That's what counts. I believe that this power is perfect love and creates out of a desire to express love. In other words, the only power in the universe wants one thing, to express love. That's why we're here. If you ever wonder, why am I here? I did. I have off and on over the years. And with every phase of my life, that question comes up again. Why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? I'm old. I can't do everything I used to do. That's my whiny voice. The truth is, why am I here? I'm here to love. Because I can always love. As long as I can breathe, I can love. And when people get upset and angry and are carrying on, I can love. I can love them. I can look past the external condition into the heart of their lives and my life and say, I love them. Right after 9/11, a group of us started a prayer circle, and we were praying for the world leaders at the time. And of course, who the bad guys and the good guys were as far as the U.S. was concerned. We decided we would just see all of them as 3-year-olds playing together and having a great old time. Can you imagine the world leaders together as little kids just having a romp and a good time? And so we stood strongly in the idea that our thoughts matter. And so it helped me lift myself out of the anger and the hatred and the fear and all the things that could have gotten stirred up by that horrific event. And I'm not saying we pretended nothing happened, because we didn't. We don't. Not doing that now. But what we are doing is looking to that deeper place, that deeper truth, that deeper experience. I believe the power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love. I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience. Oh no, that was my mama did that, or my daddy. Our thought creates our experience. Now, it doesn't say you weren't handed some things that might have been tough and might have had to be healed. No question about it. But how we are now as adults, once we are beginning in charge of our own minds, that's up to us and how we believe. It's the old story. You see two people stand on a street corner, see the same thing happen. Neither of them see the same thing. You see through your eyes of belief and your eyes of expectation. And sometimes we don't see it all because we aren't tuned into what's going on. What I believe all thought is creative. I believe in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding. Do you? Or you think it's all over when you fall off this conveyor belt called physical life? Makes a difference on how you feel. I hear this voice in my head. My first Sunday with you guys, which is almost 5 years ago now, 1st of April will be, I got to the end of the program and stuff, and I was a little bit confused about what came next because it's a different order than I was used to. And a voice from the back of the room said, "You got it all, Dr. Bob. That's good." You know who that was? Yep, Ross Cheers. Ross Cheers, who made his transition in the middle of February, for those who may not know, who has been one of my dear friends. But when I think about that life immortal, I think about Ross just laughing and having a great old time, whatever's next. And I still hear him whisper, "Well, Dr. Bob," when I came up with this idea, let's don't march forth, let's spring forth. I heard his voice. Well, I understand your perspective on that, but we had to march for our freedom. So march is a good thing. March forward. Stand on your truth. And it was, and it still is. I'm just going to spring because I just don't want to wait. So, all of these things, our immortality is so important for many of us. Not because we're trying to control or manage it, or not because we have to wait till then to have a good time. It starts right now in this moment. Who you are in the immortal is all about right now and how you live and what you choose. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all. Breathe that in. You know what a beautiful idea that is? I grew up with a very vengeful, weird kind of a God who seemed to like some people and not like some people, who seemed to do good one day and not so good the next day, who punished some people who didn't. It wasn't true, but that was what I was taught. That's why this whole idea, one eternal goodness and loving kindness and givingness to all. See, our only job really is to receive. Receive that life coming to us and through us, and get our bloated nothingness out of the way and let the divine spirits come through us and out into the world through our lives. Now, we still have a lot to do. But as far as our spiritual lives, it is to receive, to open up. We do that through meditation. We do that through service. We do that through contemplation. When Holmes talks about meditation, he's talking about contemplation, taking a single idea like that one, the goodness of God giving to me right now. What does that really mean for me? And think through, sit quietly while those ideas flow through you, and you get an idea, and thinking about that, and how does it mean, and where does it show up? Yeah. So that's the truth of you. It's the truth of me.
There is a certain preparation necessary for this, just as we cultivate the soil before we plant seeds in the ground, so we must cultivate our own consciousness. We must cultivate an inward awareness, filling our minds with a feeling of a great presence and the authority of a great law of good. Sometimes this means sitting quietly for a few moments, just sensing the presence, feeling it and believing it, and keeping the mind open to its influx, to a sense of peace and inward awareness. Then we must realize that our word, being the presence, the power, and the activity of the living Spirit, shall not return unto us void. It actually will be done unto us as we believe, as we affirm, and as we accept.